What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back with a post-match fan show for you guys. Really disappointing start to the season. A 1-1 draw away at Leicester. Joining me today, we've got Barnaby Slater in the building to talk to you guys. But this show is your chance to have your say. If you want to speak about anything that happened today, anything Spurs related at all, do come and join the show. The link is in the community section for all members, and I think it's in the Telegram group as well. If you're part of that Telegram group, come and join us and have your say on today's events. But Barnaby, really disappointing start to season result-wise. Could argue, if we'd scored the chances we'd had, would have been out of sight. Ange has made that point as well. But you can't get away from the fact that, we should have been winning that game comfortably.
Yeah, fact remains, should have been 2 or 3-0 up by half time. It's cliches, isn't it? But we said it at half times. Like, you don't take your chances, and if we don't get that second goal, we're going to give away a chance, and that's what happened. And in the end, although it sounds negative, I've said it already in the post-match reaction show, but we could easily have got turned over there, and it would be laughingstock City for us. So, look. It's a point. We got a point on the first day last season away at Brentford. I do think, and I know this is like, you're really clutching at straws here, but I do think it was probably the best time for Leicester to play us, kind of Monday night game, first game of the season, fans properly up for it. And we still could have and should have absolutely tore them apart in the first half. There was some beautiful stuff being played. I thought Bentancur was excellent in the kind of six until he got injured. I thought Solanke started pretty well, certainly in terms of his back-to-goal play. He missed some really important chances, two kind of probably 6 out of 10 chances with headers, and then one real 8 out of 10 chance in the second half. So he'll be disappointed with that, but hopefully he won't get too down on his luck about it. And, up until we gave away that goal, the back four all looked really good. Destiny Udogie, who hasn't played for so long, I think he's only had maybe a week or 10 days of full training. He looked brilliant and back to his best. Porro with an unbelievable header. Mickey van der Ven and Romero played well, but you've got to say, and I said it in the reaction show, Christian Romero's got to be a little bit brighter and concentrate a bit more for that goal that Vardy scored, because he's left his man free, and you can't leave a player like Vardy free for a chance like that.
Highlight of the game, probably seeing my brother on the screen. I think everyone has really enjoyed seeing Ben on Sky Sports, giving it to the Leicester fans. I don't know, or maybe cheering Bentancur's name, whatever you want to think he is doing. He probably is doing both of them. But all right, let's start getting some fans on then, because this is your show. And first, let's get Alex Samuels on. I feel like I haven't seen him in a while. Let's get Alex on. Alex, hello. Good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay-ish. After that, I mean, wasn't superb that second half. How are you guys?
Yeah, look, we're trying to make sense of what we saw. We're coming to the season with a lot of excitement, new signings, Ange's second season, a year into his project now. Opening day of the season again, away at a promoted team who've just lost their manager, and a lot of Leicester fans coming into the season negative, but they've come away from the first game with a draw. How do you look about what happened today? Do you say we're unlucky? If we put those goal chances away, we win that game comfortably, or do you think there's something deeper, deeper rooted here than why we didn't get the result?
Oh, 100% deeper rooted for sure, because how many times have we seen the similar mentality of we score a goal. Yeah, for sure. We didn't immediately back off. We carried on the good form the first half, throughout the first half. But when that second half, 5 minutes into that second half, I think all the old demons really came back. And as soon as we were under a bit of pressure, we started cracking. And I think that was probably the most concerning thing, aside from the result of the whole game, was just how similar the reaction was from games we had last season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, hi Alex, good to talk to you. We lost a lot of points last season from winning positions. That was certainly being talked about on Sky before the game. Do you have any worries? Obviously one of the ways that Big Ange has chosen to try and hopefully deal with that is to bring in a 60 million pound striker, 65 million pound striker. Do you have any worries about Solanke because he missed those chances today, or do you think he'll prove himself to be the right man for the job? Or can I just finish with this? There are some fans, certainly who've come onto my channel recently, and said that this is another example of the big problem with ENIC and Daniel Levy, which is to not go out and get an Osimhen when not many other clubs want Osimhen at the moment, and instead kind of almost hedge their bets on someone a bit cheaper. Is it too early to worry about that?
When the Solanke stuff came out earlier in the summer, I was kind of a bit of a hater, to be honest. And I couldn't really see it, but the more I've read into it, and I actually do get it now. And funnily enough, tonight I actually don't think he was that bad. In fact, I think he probably did everything right aside from the goal. To be honest, he was getting into really good positions. I think he was holding up the ball decently well.
Agreed.
And to be honest, I don't really think you could have asked much more apart from just getting on the score sheet, which I'm sure he'll be devastated about. So yeah, I actually don't really have too many concerns of Solanke now after actually doing some proper research rather than just he's not called Solankidinho or something like that. So yeah, and I think probably a lot of other fans are feeling the same way, to be honest.
Yeah, we got a first look at some other new players today. Gray and Bergval came off the bench making their debuts. Anyone else apart from them and Solanke? No one else made their debut today, I don't think. What do you make out of what you saw? They're there on for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. What do you make of their showing? Your first action of Premier League football?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Bergval was a bit mixed, especially because of the defensive mistake he made when Vicario had a big go at him.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that regard, but look, and Gray, I think was fine. He didn't look out of place, which is actually really good. I think if you're fitting in well amongst in a Premier League game, then that's boding well at least. I mean, it is way too early to call. This is the first competitive game for these guys for Tottenham. I mean, you can't really, even if they had a stinker, I wouldn't really sit here and say, oh, it's not looking good for them. They're just kids, so you got to give them as much time as possible. But it's fantastic that we're giving them these opportunities, because I'm sure when Archie was looking at us or Brentford earlier in the summer, he probably even wouldn't have expected to be getting these kind of minutes, I suppose, so far. So yeah.
Can I ask Alex your thoughts on Brennan Johnson and Sonny tonight? I think there's a little bit of pushback certainly in the comments about Johnson in particular. I remember saying kind of maybe about 25 minutes in that I'd been impressed with him, but then he just seemed to drop off and didn't really do a great deal after that. And we were just discussing off air before we started the post-match fan show where Sim made a really good point, I thought, where he said, if we're not getting shots, well, chances where Sonny can have shots, what more is he really offering to us? And, is it too soon to worry about Sonny's place in this system, especially having, bought our new Burnley player just a couple of days ago?
Yeah, well, Sonny first. Sonny, he is supposed to be, he is supposed to be playing on the left wing. That's a position that he prefers, apparently. So, I would expect that he should perform better than perhaps he did tonight. I don't think he was absolutely terrible tonight.
Yeah, his link up play was decent first half, wasn't it? His kind of link up play was all right.
Yeah. I mean, look, the whole team really played very well in the first half, I thought, or down that left. And actually, most of the problems we were causing down that left were due to him and Maddison linking up quite well, I thought. That was where we really challenged Leicester. I think the actual issue, and this will come on to with Brennan Johnson, how to say this, I'm not the biggest fan of Brennan Johnson, I've got to say. I wasn't the biggest fan when we got him.
Is that an understatement, Alex?
Yeah, is it sounding maybe like that?
Yes, it is,
yeah. I wasn't the biggest fan when we brought him in. He didn't convince me last season, and I don't think he's going to really convince me this season. I call him the Welsh Lucas Moura. So, yeah, because I think he does a lot of running. He gets into every so often a good position, but then every so often can't really get past his man. doesn't really have the end product, or rather, like Lucas Moura, we only see it every so often, and not often enough. So, yeah, but as every player does need, I think, a season and a half to 2 seasons. So, especially Ange's second season, I'm willing to give him, a chance. But I do think it's really good that we have got a winger in, who can challenge for his place. Even though I know that his favorite position is the left, but I'm sure he'll be able to do something on the right. So yeah, I'm happy. It's good that we're going to have a player in at least that might challenge Johnson. So
Alex, just so you know, all I heard there is that you predict that Brennan Johnson will score a Champions League semi-final hat-trick. So
wouldn't that just be amazing?
And make sure you call in that night. Yeah,
well, I did. I actually said if we won that Champions League final, I would call my firstborn son Lucas. So here's hoping for young Brennan Samuels, huh?
Yeah, perfect.
So just to end off, Alex, in terms of what you saw today, in terms of the context of the season ahead, then are you concerned with what you saw today in terms of what we can still achieve this season, or do you just chalk it up to one bad result and we can still have a good season?
I think the concerns probably what I mentioned at the beginning of the same kind of mentality issues, which I don't think Ange has quite solved yet. I think that was evident under the pressure we were under before Bentancur got that concussion or injury or whatever, and yeah, that did ease off the gas for Leicester a bit. After that, we found it a bit easier, but still. I think it's that continuing on into this season, which is probably the biggest concern. Look, we can do. I actually have really high hopes this season. I think we can really challenge on a lot of fronts, whether that's domestic cups or Europa League. I think we'll actually do quite well and get quite deep into some of those competitions and have a chance of picking up some silverware. But I think it's always going to come down to when we are in really, really pressurized moments. I still don't have the belief that we can see them through. And I think that's the concern. That's what I hope that Ange would be able to solve. But I just don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, Alex, good to see you as always, mate. I'm sure it's tactful that you haven't got your bed in the background in this one.
It is an absolute mess here because I'm currently moving out my flat in Bristol. So it's a war zone currly.
I see. Always an excuse. Always an excuse. Alex.
Yeah.
Just make the bed. Just make it.
Yeah. I will.
Good to see you, mate.
Top man.
Good to see you guys.
See you guys. Bye.
It's a running joke because he used to call in and he used to have his bed in the background and it was never made. And everyone used to comment in the comments,
Hilarious.
Please make your bed.
Hilarious.
All right. So let's keep going. We've got, let's read some Ange quotes actually before we get to the next caller. He's been speaking in his press conference, talking on Bentancur. He says, look, I don't have a lot of information, but I know he is up and he's communicating, so he's fine from that point of view. Obviously, a head injury, I'll leave it in the hands of the medical team. The key thing is he is definitely conscious and communicating, so that's really good to hear about Bentancur. On the match, he said, yeah, look, it's disappointing outcome. Very dominant first half display, really wasteful in front of goal. We started the second half similarly. First 15 to 20 minutes, very dominant, wasteful, but 1-0 is always an opportunity for the opposition to come back into the game, and that's what happened. We lost our way for 15 to 20 minutes. We lost our composure, and the crowd got behind them, but again, finished strong. Just really disappointed. We lacked a little cutting edge in the final third, made some poor decisions, lacked some composure, and didn't get the reward our football deserved. And on Solanke, he said, yeah, he was good. He worked hard for the team, had a couple of chances. He will be disappointed he didn't do better with the overall performance of everyone. With the overall performance of everyone was okay. And it doesn't mean anything if we don't turn that performance into outcomes. We had similar issues last year, and if we're going to get to the next level as a team and bridge the gap to the top sides, it is an area of the game we need to improve. He says we didn't get the goals our football deserved today. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the first 60 minutes of the game, I don't think any of us can deny that. But what can you do? We didn't. We need to. It would have been the absolute dream. Solanke had scored one or two of those chances. We're 3-0 up. Second half would have been absolute dream. But equally, if that had happened, everyone would be saying, "Oh, we're going to really put in a challenge this year," and that wouldn't be true either. We're not going to have a bad season because we drew this game 1-1. We're not going to put in a challenge had we won it 3-4-0 or 4-1. So it is what it is. It was Jamie Vardy's night in the end, actually, as it goes, unfortunately. But there was enough to see there that was really positive in the first 60 minutes to see that the project is still good. And I do think defensively we're good as well. Like I said before, though, Porro and Romero will look at that and they'll be shown it and they'll think, all right, we've got to buck up our ideas a bit because in this league, you give away a chance like that, the game changes. And in the end, we could have ended up losing it.
Absolutely. All right. Should we get Christian on? He seems to have frozen. So is he still? He's still there.
Hi, Christian.
Let's get him on. Yeah.
Hey,
Christian Kemp. Hey, thanks for calling in, mate.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm real good. I appreciate you guys having me on.
I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah.
Where you calling from, Christian?
Well, this is United States, actually.
Lovely.
So don't tell my boss, but I was during the working day. I had it on and watched the whole thing. But
was it worth it?
First half was worth it. It's kind of like it's already been said. The thing that bothered me is and I try to stay positive. Like you said, this is one game. You look last year and we drew with Brentford the first game and then we went on that big run. So, it's one game, but what disappoints me, it just feels like, it's the same stuff from last year. We see it over and over again. We come out on fire, we get going, we're connecting really well. And then when we get put under a little bit of pressure, no one wants to step up. And I just, it's a thing where I just wish we had a few more, like a better way, I wish we had a few more dogs on the squad, that are ready to step up, that are ready to, take that shot. I always felt like, we would get in the box and then no one wanted to pull the trigger. Hopefully I was hoping Solanke would be the one that would start pulling the trigger and would make those moves. But, I was a little disappointed in Johnson and Son today as well. Johnson I think he was trying to take a shot, but he shot the ball right across the goal, and it always seems like we're one or two steps off from an easy goal. But I hope Ange is getting on him, and I think the mentality needs to be even though this is just one game. This needs to be seen as we left points out there that we should have gotten.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about the dogs thing. I mean, there's definitely on Sky in Britain, Jamie Carragher, who's one of their pundits, said tonight, it kind of Ange Postecoglou has made Spurs back into the team that is a team that everyone wants to watch and are very fun and whatever, but they lack a little bit of, I don't know, like almost like nous. Do you know what it's like? Nous and you kind of said dog, a bit of dog in it, a bit of bite. And, the thing that Arsenal have, I hate to say it, but Arsenal know that they're going to score goals. So they play 4 centre-backs across their back line because they know that they're going to score goals. So if they don't concede goals, they're going to win games. Now, Ange doesn't want to do it like that, and that's fine. But if we're not going to have more defensive players on the pitch, what we do need, I think, is a kind of and it's something we've all talked about for a long time, a kind of Rodri-esque player who is going to make professional fouls subtly in a way that is going to stop those moments when teams get that kind of 1 or 2 chances that tonight Leicester made. And, tonight, I think it was, if I'm right, I think it was basically Brennan Johnson was in a difficult position and he chose to try and do something progressive with the ball, and he lost the ball, and as a result they got the first cross in that led to the second cross that led to Vardy's goal. And sometimes that's where you've got to use some nous. Is it better to just kick the ball off the side of the pitch, regroup and start again? But I think Johnson doesn't or didn't because he thinks Postecoglou will scream at him if he does that. In the Premier League, these are the moments that make the difference, I think, between the Premier League, the Scottish League where Ange has won, and the Japanese League. You give one chance and you will be punished. But the flip of that, Christian, as you said, is like, should we have been 3 or 4 up by that point? Yes, we should. So.
Well, and we just, and it hurts to think like, these kind of games are what gets us in the top 4 or not. It's these kind of games where, and I will say this, talking about, dogs, like I'm talking a little bit what Romero has. We look at what I love the fact that like just about anyone on our team, if we're playing well, is like willing to pull it down and take a shot. Romero is good with headers. We saw last year, Van de Ven, he's not afraid to rocket one in there. We all know Porro loves to pull it down and take that shot. I don't know. I just wish I'm tired of seeing Son in like a spot where like, let's curl one in. And it just feels like he doesn't take it. He's scared to pull the trigger.
We had our first look at our new £65 million striker today in Dom Solanke. What did you make of his debut?
We still give it time. He's still, I wish he would have scored. And I talked with, a buddy of mine saying that, I thought that he was going to be the one to get us going, and he would score, and let's get it going, and he was so close so many times. Just a case of being one step too slow. So I think he'll get there. I really do. I think he'll get there. I think that he'll start scoring some goals because he's so good in the box, and then hopefully when he is there and scoring goals, and they maybe to take a little bit off of Richie, and we'll start to get him back in form as well.
All right, Christian, really good to see you, mate. Thanks for calling in, and hopefully you call in again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Christian.
Thanks a lot, Christian. All right, that was Christian Kemp. Yes, honest. I'm just looking at some Ange's post-match interview. Look, he does look absolutely fuming, doesn't he?
I watched that interview. He was absolutely fuming, and I think I've come to think, he has that kind of nervous cough in his post-match interviews. I think it's because it's like a mix of how much he's been shouted from the touchline and then how much he's bollocked them in the changing room straight after the game. I also want to just say one thing. I also saw in my peripheral while we were talking that Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher have done their predictions for the season, and Gary Neville has predicted that Chelsea will be in the top 4.
And Man United.
And, well, I feel like he has to do Man United, right? But Chelsea being in the top 4, Chelsea, honestly, come on now.
That's a big shout from Gary Neville.
Come on now. They've got 8 goalkeepers.
He's been a bit bad with his predictions of late, though, Gary Neville, so maybe it's a good thing. Well, Carragher has us in top 4, and he's pretty good
He
at
has
his
Spurs
predictions.
in his top 4?
Yeah, Carragher does.
Does he? You sure?
Yeah, Spurs.
Good lad.
Big
I've always liked Carragher, as I said.
I've always liked him more. All right, let's get Hugo on the show.
Hugo.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Yes,
how you doing,
mate.
Hugo?
Good
Thanks
to
for
hear
calling
from
in,
you.
mate.
First time on the show. I've sort of bit my tongue a little bit on the football last season because I wanted to give it a bit of time. But now we're in the second season. I thought I'd come on and just say hello.
Well, it's about the football. Ange today said we didn't score the goals that our football deserved. Do you agree with that assessment from Ange?
Well, I think regardless of whether I agree on the assessment, I think it doesn't really make a difference in terms of the result. It's about the result. We can sit here all day and say that we deserved more goals, but we could have said that for a lot of games last season. I thought it was a pretty naive performance, a lot of intensity, but not a lot of direction, and very poor in front of goal, very profligate in front of goal. And then on the other end, they pop one in at the back post. And we talk about Romero. He's a dog. He's one of the best players in the team, but he's at fault for the goal there. So pretty poor game. And I'm at least glad that Andrew was a bit honest about the way the game went. And but very disappointing.
So Hugo, I get the sense that overall you think that kind of Ange's very attacking style is probably more naive than likely to take us towards trophies. Is that right?
Well, I just think, we're far too fragile. We're not talking about attacking football versus pragmatic football. We're talking about a really, really ultra attacking football, to the point where, we're so open. I've been very tuned in with the sort of dialogue on Ange and the way we're playing. And, it's one thing if we're talking about, we're committing men forward and we're going to be a little bit open and we're going to concede some goals here and there. I can accept that. I could also accept it last year where, not last year, in seasons prior where our defensive line, we didn't have a lot of quality in there. We were talking about Ryan Sessegnon and Tanganga and Dyer and Sanchez. Those were the kind of players that were mainstays in the team. And now we've got a very, very good back line. We've got very, very good players in there. And the goals are just too...
Oh, is he cut off?
I don't want him to be cut off. He's great.
Yeah, he's been doing well. Is he still there?
Oh, Hugo, we've lost you.
We'll try. I guess Hugo, try call back in. We'll try and get you back on. I think you've just we've lost you.
Hugo's great. We want to get Hugo back.
We'll try and get him back on.
I hope Hugo knows that he's cut off because he will be balls deep in his point right now. Be absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, Hugo. I hope he can still hear us. But
I mean, I have to say, just before we go on to our next one, I don't fully disagree with Hugo. I get the sense with Hugo that like what he's looking for, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, he's looking for a bit more of a compromise. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I get it. Look, I was full metal jacket on Ange last season too. I still am. I think he's a great manager. I think he needed to turn around the ethos of the club top to bottom, not just on the pitch. And he's done that. But at some point, I think potentially there may have to be some kind of compromise. And whether that is a more pragmatic number 6 or it's telling one of the fullbacks not to be playing in the number 10 position all the time, I do not know. But yeah, I got the sense, and hopefully we'll get to talk to Hugo again. I got the sense that I didn't fully disagree with what he was saying.
Yeah, I get that. And that's something actually, if you actually look at what Pep and Arteta are doing over the last couple of years, they both have turned a lot more pragmatic than maybe they were at the beginning of their tenure at the club. So I think that in terms of the way modern football, everyone thinks modern football is like beautiful football. Everyone playing out the back, but you look at the teams actually winning. Even look at in Spain, Real Madrid under Ancelotti, also a bit more pragmatic. Pep has definitely turned a bit more pragmatic of late, and we all know. Yeah,
he plays Ake as a fullback,
and
doesn't
we
he?
all know how pragmatic Arteta can be.
Yeah,
we saw what he did at the Etihad last season. So. There is a case to be made. If you're going to win trophies, you're going to have that side of you. And I do worry that whenever our teams attack us, and when they have a spell of them being on top of us, we're very good at I actually think we're quite good at preventing transitions and preventing teams having periods on top. Like for the first hour today, Leicester barely had a kick.
Yeah.
So I actually think we're quite good when we're on top of a team of penning them in, suffocating them, not allowing them out. Yeah. But once they do get out, we struggle. And especially when they have a period where they're on top, we can't seem to stop them creating chances.
Yeah.
And even a team like Leicester, it seems to happen as well. Our defense when we're on the back foot is poor. I think our defending when we're on the front foot is good, if you know what I mean. When we're on the back foot, our defending is really bad.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about.
That's probably because if we think, I agree with what Hugo's saying, and I know we're about to talk to him again, in that we do have a really good back line, but you've got to say you would worry about playing Porro and Destiny as classical fullbacks in a back four. But anyway, Hugo, you're back. Let's back.
Get Hugo back on.
Apologies, guys. Sorry about that.
No, not sure what happened there. I can't remember the point, Hugo.
I think your point was, I riffed off the back of your point, which I think is where you're going, which I was saying I don't disagree with, which I feel like what you're looking for is a little bit more of a compromise between the kind of all-out attack that you mentioned of Ange, and then maybe the kind of somewhere the other side, which is where, currently working in the Premier League, actually, which is where Arteta and Pep kind of play 4 centre-backs across the back line. But correct me if I'm wrong, mate.
Exactly, and you look at Arteta and Pep, and those teams have the ability to go forward, but they're nowhere near as open and as vulnerable as we are, and so it's naive to think that with this system we would need a Galacticos FC in the front 6 in order to be that dominant. We just aren't. You know, again, I'm not talking about Conte and Mourinho football. I'm talking about fundamentals of the game. I'm not talking about, you know, I can accept the fact that there's men forward, we're sending the fullbacks forward, there's going to be a bit of space in behind, but, you know, we're not talking about, you know, a little counter attack here and there. We're talking about every single game. I mean, we're talking about Luton Town last season, Burnley last season, really giving us hard games towards the tail end of the season. And you look this year, you know, it's a really, really poor goal to concede. We're not even in transition. All the defenders are back. The ball's on our left hand side. The only player in there is Vardy. He's the goal scorer, and Romero just lets him go in behind. So, so it's too poor. It's not, you know, we're not conceding unlucky counter attack goals. We're conceding really just fundamentally flawed, you know, structural weaknesses. That's what I'm seeing. So I would say, like, even though it's the first game of the season, I would say it's a very big concern in terms of the way the game is played out. It's easy to sort of look at it from a black and white results perspective and sort of take positives from that. But if you look at the way the game went out, it was almost worst case scenario, really, the way that game went down.
I'm not sure how many people are taking positives out of the result, but I understand what you're saying. But in terms of how the performance went, you know, some would argue we could have been out of sight by that. You know, by the time Vardy scored, we should have been 3-4-0 up. So could you not say, you know, if we perform like this going forward, we're going to win a lot more games than we drop points in?
Well, you know, what I saw was after we scored the goal, we sort of eased off the gas a little bit. You know, we were sort of cruising and playing cute football. It looks like the players were very comfortable out there. You know, players were smiling and laughing after missing quite gilt-edged chances. To me, we just looked so relaxed and so chill. Look how cute our football is. Look how nice we are. We're so much better than Leicester. Look how intricate we are. And we had total eggs on our faces afterwards. You know, so we played well. You know, but I don't think we had too many actually clear cut chances. The ones that stick out to me are a couple of the corners. I think there was a goal line clearance from Ndidi there that Solanke could have knocked in at the end there. There was a nice one from Brennan Johnson who drilled across, and unfortunately no one was there. The angle was a bit tight. But other than that, I kind of thought we huffed and puffed. We had a lot of the ball, and we just sort of looked like if we have the ball, then Leicester can't hurt us. So let's just pass the ball around and have some nice touches. And it just didn't, you know, I just didn't really think we were that great, to be honest with you. And the result reflects that. You know, Ange can sit there and say that we deserved more goals, but, you know, generally speaking, you get the result you deserve. And I you know, for 75% of the ball, we didn't hurt Leicester enough, really. We didn't test the goalkeeper enough, really. Yeah. You know, I've seen, you know, in terms of individual performances, in terms of Solanke, in terms of some of the other players, I thought Solanke had a decent game. I think, first of all, what stands out to me is that he's a much better footballer than Richarlison in terms of his control, in terms of his link-up play. So I'm not necessarily going to be knocking him down for not getting the goal. I thought he had a couple headers. He could have, you know, done a little bit better there. But generally speaking, I think it's clear from that first game we have an upgrade in that position. He obviously is going to be judged on how many goals he does get. But I think for right now, you know, I'll give him. It was an okay performance. I would say, you know, for me, Brennan Johnson, every time I watch him start in the team, I see 10 players, and then I see Brennan Johnson out on the right. And I'm not trying to be too unfair to him, but that's what I see. I see 10 players in a team, and then Brennan Johnson on his own, because I just don't. He to me today again was the standout weak performer in the team.
Yeah, so I was listening to Harry Brooks. I don't know if you follow Harry Brooks on Twitter. He's a football coach, really great. I was listening to him on a podcast with Flav. I think it was The Fighting Cock earlier this week. And he was saying, you know, it would not surprise him if in a month's time, Wilson Odobert was starting over Brennan Johnson on the right, because he can go both sides. And he's incredibly, you know, he can go one-on-one both sides, and he can run down the middle as well if needed. And he will add a different dimension potentially to what Johnson can do. The thing that really surprised me today, and I said it, is for me Johnson suits way better when he comes on later in the game and there are big spaces to run into. So it was a surprise to me. I actually thought he did all right in the first 15, 20 minutes, but other than that, not a lot. So it was a surprise to me that he started over Kulusevski. But yeah, no, Hugo, honestly, I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying, but Ange, is a successful football manager wherever he's been, and he seems to genuinely feel that this will work in this kind of full attacking way. I have to say, I do fear for St James's Park in a couple of weeks' time. The last couple of times we've been there obviously haven't been pretty, but also, I wouldn't suggest that we look that much better defending set pieces today. And, if we let them get there, obviously we've got to deal with Everton first, but if we let them get a goal early, like we have done the last couple of times, then, because of all the things you've said, but also I would add to that, when we do lose the ball on transition, there is just like an enormous hole down the middle of midfield, like where you could drive 8 buses through. And better teams will destroy us there, I fear.
Yeah, and I would just say sort of 2 points. I know I'm sort of running out of time, but I would just say 2 points in terms of, Barnaby, you made a point about a Rodri-type midfielder. Of course, everyone needs a Rodri-type DM in the team. And I would say another concern about the recruitment is that, based on the links that I've seen around Tottenham, it doesn't seem that we're after a player like that. No. It doesn't seem that we're after an anchor-type defensive midfielder that is going to really clean up for us. I think Ange wants someone like Bissouma, who's going to play... some nice control, going to be able to drive the ball forward. Bissouma for me, I think last season, I think in 2 years of football at Spurs, I've not seen him do much at all. He's had maybe a month or two of good football. I'd like to see the back of Bissouma, to be honest with you. So I don't think that DM.
Well, what did you think of Bentancur tonight in the 6th?
I thought he was excellent. I thought Bentancur was excellent. I thought he had a great game. Again, he's had the injuries. He got knocked out. In the other opponent's box, he can't seem to. It's terrible what happened to him. Obviously, I've seen that he might be okay now, but I thought he had a great game.
So could he not do the job potentially?
Yeah, he could do the job, but it's if he can stay fit, and it's the first game back of the season. So we'll see. Again, like I saw links that Bentancur was going to leave this summer. So. I saw Turkey links at some point this summer. So I don't know. Part of me feels that Bentancur has been shoehorned in there a little bit because of the Bissouma situation. But I think Bentancur had a great performance. It's a shame that he obviously went down with the injury. But the other point I'd make around Ange is sort of it really depends on what the expectations are of the fan base. For me, I would have said that the league position is going to be compromised a little bit. I don't think top 4 should be on everybody's radar because we're playing in Europe and we have ambitions of going far in the cups. The cup competitions last year were a total abject failure. I mean, we were out of the Carabao Cup in August. Before it was terrible. So we have ambitions of going far in the cups. We have ambitions of going far in Europe. So it's going to be a very high ask for us to improve our league position of 5th. Also, when you consider the fact that, if there's that stat going around of if you take out the first 10 games of last season and you look at the Premier League table, for the last 28 games of the season, you can see that we were, a bottom half team. I think we were 15th or 16th or something like that in terms of if you look at after game week 10 up until game week 38, which is 3/4 of the season, where our league position was, which is a telltale of how much that first 10 games saved us. So that first 10 games is really a reflection of, teams not knowing how to play us, teams not knowing what we're going to do. And then the 3/4 of the season after that is teams, in my opinion, figuring us out. And I think a lot of the games this season are going to be like that Leicester game. We're going to be struggling to really have that cutting edge. And we're going to have a lot of the ball. It's going to look bright and it's going to look appealing to the eye. But are we going to get the results 9 out of 10 times? I don't know.
Can I just ask you one more thing before you go, Hugo? Because I think you're a really good caller. Why did we suddenly stop putting crosses in the box in the second half when first half it was causing them endless trouble?
Yeah, I think it comes from a panic and an ill discipline with the attacking football. What we tried to do in that second half was pass it into the net, which is exactly what we tried to do. We tried to score a nice perfect goal to just cap off the night. You're looking at guys like Bergvall and Archie Gray to come on who are 18 years old and I'm seeing a lot of the discourse, Bergvall must start, Archie Gray has to start, these kids have to start. And it shows that the first team quality it's not there. And we stopped putting crosses into the box because we started, overdoing it, overworking it. We're drawing 1-1 to Leicester, who, in my opinion, this Leicester team is probably going to go down again. We've conceded a goal against the run of play. We've been shell shocked. We've been, hit with a glass. Our jaws have been smashed, and that's why we just try to rush it. We try to just play nice football and try to just get really into the box. And there was that one right at the end where Solanke gets the ball in the middle of the box. He turns on his right foot, and then he's 5 yards from the goal, and then he tries to play a through ball to Son, which goes out of play. And it was right at the end. It was in the 90-something minute, and I was like, that sums it up. He's trying to play a pass in the 6-yard box when he's right in the middle of the goal. So that's what I saw. I saw a bit. They were anxious. They were in a rush to score a goal because they knew that we were in a bad position. We had conceded a goal against the run of play. This isn't the result that we need. So it was just immaturity and naivety again. Those are the sort of the words that come to mind.
Yeah, top man, Hugo.
Hugo, thanks for calling in, mate. You've been a big hit with the chat. A really great call. I hope you call in again. And we'll see you very soon.
All right, have a
Appreciate
good
it.
night,
Yeah.
mate. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Hugo. Great
Yeah,
call,
he said,
really good.
do you know the word he said that I completely agree with? Shell shocked. It was like that after we conceded the goal. Shell shock, not quite the ability to just be like, chill out, calm it down, get back on the ball, keep the fans quiet. And hopefully that will come with time. But we've suffered from that last season as well.
Definitely. How many games last season when we're in control, we get hit with a sucker punch, and then bam, the opposition got their tails up, and we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Look, Ange also said himself that is something we suffered from last season.
Yeah.
So hopefully, someone can get a lid on. But look, actions speak louder than words, as they say. Let's get Sava on.
Sava, how are you, mate?
How you doing, Sava?
Right.
Thank you for calling in, mate. Disappointing result today. What did you make out of the performance?
Yeah, I mean, first half, like we've done most of last season, control game, control the ball, make half-cut chances, but just not clinical enough in that final third. So, and again, we suffered today because of it.
How do we go about solving that problem? We've signed Solanke for 65 million. If he can't make us more clinical, how do we solve that issue?
I think it's more of a leadership issue, isn't it? Someone needs to take control because we just look like a bunch of boys on the pitch at the moment. Even because the second half we were trying to walk the ball in the net, and it's just like you're only 1-0 up. It's not 3-4-0. So we're just missing that leader in the team at the moment. I think Son being captain is the wrong decision, but.
Sava, what do you think? Sorry to interrupt, mate. What do you think about Son's place in the team in general, not just as captain? Because as I think I mentioned earlier, Sim said just before we came on air, he said if we're not making chances for Son where he can get shots off a goal, of which I don't think either of us can remember one today, really. Is he offering us enough in terms of what clearly Ange wants is his forwards to be able to get past their fullback to the byline and cut it back. And Sonny, I wouldn't say he's lost his pace yet, but he's not as keen to get that step over onto his left foot across the front now. So is Son in danger of losing his place this season?
Yes, he is. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about Sonny. I mean, great player, done great for us so far. But honestly, I just think he misses Harry. Harry done a lot of the work for him. Obviously their record together, scoring goals together, was good. He's just lacking a bit of confidence at the moment. I think he's taking less shots from outside the box. He was predominantly good at coming in and taking a shot on his left foot. He's not doing that anymore either. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or he's just not playing right in the system. I don't know, but he can be dropped, obviously. Maybe he's a bit tired. Don't forget, he hasn't really had much of a break during the off-season, being away with Korea and whatnot. Legs gone, maybe a bit more so than when he came to us. I do think his legs have gone a little bit, but other than that, I just think he needs to build some confidence at the moment.
Sava, for you, after the bad end to last season, poor result opening day of the season. We've got some very difficult fixtures, against Newcastle, Arsenal, Man United coming up. If we go through a bit of a dodgy period at the start of the season, lose a few games, after that draw today, does Ange come under a bit of pressure?
Yeah, I think by Christmas, a lot of the Spurs fans I talk to around me, friends of mine, they honestly think he'll be gone by Christmas, but not quite sure. They think that, I think it's more the style of play. Obviously, we like to get forward, but we're leaving really big gaps in behind us. And the bigger clubs will punish that space. They'll punish that openness to the game. Like we saw against Chelsea last season, gone 10 games without losing, and then Chelsea come along and completely ripped us apart, really, obviously, with the red cards and the injuries. But I don't want Ange to go, obviously, but if he's under that kind of pressure by Christmas, I think he'll walk, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you, the main reason I don't know about that is because I just don't know where we would go next, really, if we weren't going to give Ange the time to get I don't think he's got the squad that fully fit what he wants quite yet. But
yeah,
I do know why you're saying, because I've read a lot of people in the comments on my videos and on here who are unsure whether Postecoglou will last, but I think we'll see a bounce back on Saturday against Everton, and maybe we'll all be in a bit of a better mood after that, I'm hoping.
Yeah, probably right about that. Look, Sava, still got some callers to come in, so appreciate you calling in, mate. Please do call in again, and we'll see you very soon.
Top man, Sava.
Okay, take care.
Thanks a lot, Sava. All right, that was Sava. Let's get JH says, give him time, FFS. Look, as much as I do want to give Ange time, I'm a big believer in Ange.
Yeah.
But the reality is, let's say even if we beat Everton, and let's say we lose to Newcastle and Arsenal and Man United, there's going to be fans who will say, look at the form since the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
And they'll be, look, it's been like nearly a year now, and the form hasn't turned around. There'll be those fans, and are they wrong? They would make that argument.
I think there's I think if we play all of those games and we've got all the back four that we want in together, and we lose all of those games, then that might be a bit of a bigger problem. But I know I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. I know I said I'm worried about the Newcastle game. I am a bit, but I think in some of those games, if we can score the first goal and then you've got the opposition coming at us and we can just pick them off with players getting in behind. I have to say, Leicester tried to play some football today, but most of the time they played with kind of 10, 11 men behind the ball, which is what a lot of teams do against us, and we have to break it down. I think in those games like that, maybe he should play Bergvall in front of Sarr, because Bergvall technically is able, with Maddison, to make loads and loads of chances, little intricate passes and stuff. But I see why he has Sarr on as well, because he's an engine, he can get up and down. It's a difficult one, but look, I think we have to give Ange time, personally.
No, I'm all for giving Ange time, 100%. I'm just saying, I know how football fans work.
Totally.
I've been around the block,
Yeah.
If we do get off to a poor start, the draw's bad enough, but if we do, if we do fail to beat Everton and we do lose a few games, there will be a lot of people getting on his back saying the form has been for nearly a year, and it's
we've also spent more money than anyone else, bar Chelsea, maybe Man United.
100%. I'm not saying we should sack him. I wouldn't sack him based on a bad start to the season. I'm just saying there will be pressure mounting.
But, let's say the people who put pressure on, if it happens, get their way. Where do we go now? I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, Poch's just taken the American job, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, I was thinking if anything did happen to Ange, Poch is not a bad fallback option, but he's gone now.
Why is he taking the American job? I'm sure there's a lot of money in it. They've got the World Cup next, right? Have they?
They do, yeah, the World Cup.
So I see why that is, but
he's doing nothing for 2 years because they'll have to qualify.
I don't know why he's done that.
Actually, and also talking about what you were saying before about if we should play Bergvall there, in terms of Decky not starting today, I think that decision deserves a bit more criticism, to be honest, because Decky was our player of pre-season. He was our best player by far, in my opinion, best attacking player. So how you could not start him after the pre-season he had, that was the only selection that annoyed me, to be honest, because I don't see how we can leave Decky out after the if you're not going to play Decky after that pre-season, that kind of tells me like he's got no place in your best 11.
His argument would be most of the time we played Decky as a false 9, and now we've brought in a striker, and now I'm picking Johnson ahead of you. But I agree with you in that I think Decky should have started on the right, and I think
maybe next to Maddison.
But the thing that proves that, I personally don't think you can play Decky and Maddison. I think it's an either or. But also what proves that is we made so many chances from crosses, and Decky could have played on the right, cut into on his left foot, whipped those balls in, and we might have scored some more goals. But there it is, live and learn. Don't forget, last season at away to Brentford, first game of the season, he started with
Emerson, didn't he?
He started with Royale and Skip, and then second game he switched to Porro and I don't know who came in, Bazuma maybe.
Yeah, not Bazuma, it was Sarr.
Okay, and Sarr, that's right. And what I would say is, unfortunately, because I thought Bentancur was amazing, probably because of concussion protocols, he'll now be out at the weekend and Bissouma will be straight back in. And now Bissouma, who I thought looked okay in pre-season, he might get a run of games, but it's unfortunate for Bentancur because he played well.
Yeah, I just feel for Decky because, like, he's played in pre-season in the centre, and now we don't really want to see him as right winger, but that's kind of like the only place he can get in the team at the moment. So I kind of feel for him.
He'll play enough games. He'll play enough games though, Decky, this season because he can play so many positions and we'll have so many games. But yeah, I know what you mean. So. I agree with you.
HasSpur, let's get HasSpur on HasSpur TV.
Has, how are you, mate?
Hey,
thanks for calling in, Has.
Long time, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, I guess. You?
Well, all right, I guess would probably sum it up.
We're trying to, piece together what happened today. We're just having a conversation about Kulusevski. What was your thoughts on Andrew's decision not to start him today?
Well, initially, I was quite unhappy because, as you alluded to, Kulusevski was our best player in pre-season, and I kind of expected him to play as a number 10 today because obviously Solanke came in. But obviously, Maddison came in, and he was probably our best player today, so I can't really say anything about it, if I'm being honest. But I think there's bigger problems around Spurs rather than just like one position. I think the issue is more the tactics, or rather just lack of tweaking. And I think the insistence not to buy number 6 is going to hurt us in the long term, not just this season. If Ange even stays on longer, maybe next season, because I feel like with the inverted fullbacks, as you mentioned, like Newcastle away last season, Barnaby, we were left like Isak one-on-one with Van der Ven and Romero. I think we badly need someone to screen those two and defend those two, so it's not just two at the back. And I think then you can like unleash the fullbacks with just a bit more freedom, because then you wouldn't have these two players that find themselves on breakaways, which has really hurt us. And I think today Leicester knew their game plan. They knew they were going to sit back and just hit Vardy long, and eventually they scored a goal because our defenders were just kind of ball watching, really, with the cross.
It was ball watching. Yeah. It really was.
Yeah. No, but look, I understand the problem with the tactics, but we could have easily been 3-4-0 up before that goal, and that's also down to the tactics, is it not, that we got in those positions?
I think yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the deliveries could have been a bit better from Johnson, especially, and I don't think Son really suits playing on the left in this system. I think his best football last season was playing in the middle, where he had like Maddison just supplying him. And as Barnaby spoke earlier in the show, I don't think Son should really be a starter at this point. But I think we have so many issues on the left, of course, because Werner's here.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt, I don't think I would be so brave to say that Son shouldn't be a starter. I asked the question as to whether I don't want my entire life ruined. I would never be so brave as to say that.
No. You can. I'll say that then, because that's what I'm trying to say. So in reality, I think at another club, Son wouldn't be a starter. I think another club maybe would have sold him a year or two ago. But I think if you're going to keep Son, you have to keep him as a rotational option at this point. I just don't think he has the legs anymore. And it's nothing against him as a person or a player in the past. I just don't think he has the legs anymore. And I think the lack of quality in the wings is hurting us, like, majorly.
Well, in terms of today, if you're not playing Son, you're playing Werner on the left.
I'd even play Mikey Moore there at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
I just think, I know I said it earlier about Johnson. I kind of think with Son, I agree with what Sim said earlier. If we can get him into positions where he can shoot from the left into the top right-hand corner. There's no one better in world football at doing that, right? But if we're not making him those chances, then there do just have to be games, and I'm not saying today necessarily, but there do have to be games where we have to realise, Ange has to realise, this team is going to set up 11 men behind the ball. There's going to be no space for Sonny to get in behind. Let's keep him till the 65th, 70th minute, rest his legs, and bring him on. And then there'll be plenty of European games where he can start, or plenty of games where he'll still score. If we did that, he'd still score 15, 20 goals a season. I'm absolutely sure of it. But maybe, I'm happy to say I could be overreacting, but I agree with what Sim said earlier, which was very brave of him, which is that, you know, unless we're making Sonny chances to do what he is elite at, then no, he's just not going to get out round the outside. And, you know, that's what Ange wants.
There are players out there better than Sonny at taking on their man and putting the ball in the box. And I think Son can still do it to a decent standard.
He can.
But if we are looking to take the game to the next level, this is always my problem with Sonny on the left. Albeit, what I would say is I thought at the back end of last season he was looking a lot better on the left, and he was having some problems down the middle. But Son's best attribute is his shooting and finishing ability.
Yeah.
And Ange wants his wingers to hug the touchline. So those two things are a bit, I don't know if they can coexist. I hope they can. And maybe we'll be sitting here at the end of the season with Sonny on 20 goals. But I reckon he can still up his assist numbers. I'm sure he will get more assists than he did last season playing in that role. But I want him to score more goals. I want him in goal-scoring positions. And Ange doesn't like his wingers in goal-scoring positions. That's the problem I see.
But then it would work, but that's if you didn't invert the fullbacks. If like the fullbacks were playing wider and then the wingers were cutting in, like you want like inverted forwards, so everyone call it nowadays, then maybe that would work. But because we play with, like you said, he wants the wingers to hog the touchline and the fullbacks to play inverted, it's kind of the opposite of what benefits Son anyway, like you said. So
yeah, I'm not sure how we solve that issue. I just want Son, who I still think is probably our only world-class player, to be. I want to play to his strengths, and I just don't think the way we play does play to his strengths. But moving on from Son, let's talk about Solanke a bit. He's our new £65 million striker. He missed 3 gilt-edged chances today, you probably can say. 2 headers. He had that chance in the second half as well, which he put straight at the keeper. Wasn't his day, but what did you make out of his overall performance?
I thought his all-round play was really good, actually. I think as someone earlier in the show said, his link-up play, like he laid it off, made a run. I thought he got in the right positions, and I think if he just got like a little bit of luck, he probably would have scored. I'm not quite worried about him just yet. I think once he gets his first goal, he'll probably just get going.
Yeah.
Whether he'll be our prolific 20-goal-a-season striker that everyone wants, I quite have my doubts about that. I think he'll get like 14 Premier League goals. That's my estimate. But I think with like Son, if we get Son going as well, like you mentioned, maybe we can like cover it. But I think he'll be good, but probably not as good as everyone wants him to be, if that makes sense. So like he'll get goals. I don't think he'll be like the 20, 30 goal season striker that we've had with Harry Kane.
Why did you envisage more days like today where he's missed a load of chances? Or do you not think if we keep feeding him these less level of chances, he will be getting goals more often than not?
No, like you make a good point in that sense, but I'm more just alluding to the fact that at Bournemouth and his obviously in previous clubs, his best goal tally was last season with 19 goals. Obviously before that it was like 7. I was looking at the number 7.
You're talking about Premier League though. He scored 29, 30, I think, in the Championship.
Yeah, I know. I guess it's just Premier League. But I think for him to repeat the 19 goal season again, hopefully he'll come off the back of it and push on. But with being at a new club, I don't know. But that's why I said about 13, 14 goals is about I think he'll get. But I still think I think he will score goals. Like he will score goals. Whether he'll hit the numbers that we want, I don't think so.
I think just thinking about that chance in the second half he missed, I'm hopeful that it was his first game, so he snatches at it. Once he gets a goal, if he gets in chances like that again, he's going to go far corner and kind of just do the percentage thing rather than just putting his foot through it. Because from everything I've seen of him before, he's more of a placement guy really. So
I think
fingers crossed.
What I've seen. Like instinctive striker. Like I think he just put it and he just taps it in at the end, sort of thing. Like those balls we used to whip across last season. If he can do a lot of those, I think he'll get more goals like that.
Yeah, probably didn't. We've aimed a few of him today, but couldn't finish them. But look, thanks for calling in, mate. Appreciate your time. I will see you soon.
See you soon, mate. Probably worth saying, Sim, unbeaten, aren't we?
We are unbeaten. 100% unbeaten.
Can't take that. Invincible
losses.
at the moment. So
exactly. We're coming for it.
Not like Chelsea. Hey,
Did the
Sammy.
Invincible start their campaign with a draw? I don't know. I'm making that up. But let's get Vasily on. Hope I didn't butcher that. Thanks for calling in, Vasily.
Yep.
Where are you calling from?
I'm coming from Cyprus.
Cyprus. Well, thank you for calling in. Thank you for giving your time. Not the start of the season we wanted today, but do you take the positives out today, or are you overly concerned?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty mixed, I guess, because coming into the game, I thought we were definitely going to win, and I was very frustrated that after the first half, it was not done. But on the other hand, I think of course there are positives. There are always positives. We have Burrow, I hope he's, I hope that the injury is not too serious with him, and the Bentancur, same for him. I think Solanke, I saw right away that at least like his heading ability is already substantially better than that of Richarlison's, I think. He's much less clumsy on the ball, in my opinion. I think he has better control on the ball when it's in play. And Johnson's been a hot topic as well, and he's actually one of the guys that I consistently praise. I think he's a very good asset to have, and despite him, not having one of the better performances today, I think he should start actually, because with Kulu, I'm one of those few fans that are I'm not a big fan of Kulu because today. Just like in many other games last season, for example, when he gets surrounded by players, he begins to be very clumsy. And despite the fact that he can push forward pretty well, in my opinion, he just loses the ball too easily, I think.
He sometimes tries to run through players, doesn't he, Kulusevski? He's kind of always slightly looking for a nutmeg. And
I think it's better to, potentially give out a pass or something, or, find alternatives, because it's not really working with him. With Johnson, I think he definitely should have scored that opportunity from Matter's free kick. I was pretty upset when I didn't go in the net. But, it's the first game of the season. Solanke needs to adapt. Bergvall needs to adapt. Archer needs to adapt. I think a very, very important part about the season is going to be rotation, because when the lineups came out, I was very pleasantly surprised to see how much the bench has improved for us. Not seeing Emerson, not seeing Dyer, not seeing Gill, and seeing some new faces that actually showed us that they have pretty good quality in them to become important players in our squad. I think, Matters in the first 45 minutes was reminiscent of what we saw last season in the early stages, I think.
Yeah.
Which is, and that, in my opinion, is a very important thing to note, because if Matters is fit, we look substantially better, which is why in smaller games and games against the weaker sides, I wouldn't be against starting Bergvall ahead of Madison, just to rest him and save up the energy for games that may be harder for us. Same with pretty much the rest of the squad, because we have good backups now. We have much better backups. I think Odeberg was definitely, we missed him today because Werner was not it today. Definitely unpleasant.
Actually, that's a point, Vasily. You mentioned our bench and we have much better backups. I'm just looking at the subs we made. We waited until the 78th minute to make our first substitution today. Is that something to be critical of Ange for? Could he have made changes earlier?
Should just say, in reality, that's probably more like the 70th minute, isn't it? Because there was the
to be fair, because we have this big.
But that's still about 10 minutes later than I would expect.
I mean, I was talking with a friend of mine who's also a Spurs fan and watched the match with me. I was saying that Bergvall needs to come on the 60th minute for Madison because, he was my player of the preseason, not Kulusevski. I really like Bergvall. He's just, any mistake that he did today, I don't even think of it because, come on, the guy came from the Swedish league to the Prem, and it's his first match. He's obviously very nervous. He'll get there. I'm totally sure he's going to be amazing for us.
Me too.
I said that he should come on the 60th minute. He came on a bit later. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm disappointed with the way the subs have been managed today. It's not like Conte. So,
yeah. You mentioned sorry to interrupt, Vasily, but just before I forget, you mentioned Odebear. Assuming he starts on the bench, whose place on the bench do you think he'll take? I wonder if it's most likely to be Timo Werner's,
Don't you think they'll be on the bench together, perhaps?
Well, I just mean he's going to have to take somebody's place on the bench. And I'm just looking at the bench now.
On the right today. We never saw Werner on the right last season, I think, if I remember correctly. He was mostly a left winger for us.
Looking at how he performed today, it's probably a reason for that.
But just looking at the bench, so the bench was Archie Gray, Timo Werner, Lucas Bergvall, Kulusevski, Jed Spence. So Jed Spence obviously covering the fullbacks, and then Richarlison, Austin covering the keepers, and Ben Davis, I guess another fullback, Dragusin. So it could be Ben. For me, it would have to be Ben Davis or Timo Werner, don't you think?
Yeah,
that's an interesting dilemma because.
I don't know. I have to say, if let's say he gets a good week of training in him, Odebear, and Ange wants to put him on the bench against Everton. If he says to Timo Werner, "You're not even in the squad today," Timo's going to be like, "Well, why did I just sign on loan here for another year? What am I doing?" So that'll be it'll be interesting to see. But my instinct is it'll be Ben Davis, or I guess Jed Spence, but he can cover both sides. So.
I mean, we'll see because the fullbacks today. I mean, Udogie. No one mentioned in the stream, and I'd like to say that I think Udogie was pretty underwhelming today. Fatawa was causing him a lot of problems because we saw last season how he pocketed Garnacho, and Garnacho was definitely in his shadow. That was not the case today. I don't know why no one's talking about that because
Udogie, I think you're absolutely right because I would say up until the hour, Fatawu wasn't getting any joy, but as soon as they got that goal, and that was actually from a Fatawu cross, they kept finding him every time, didn't they? Fatawu, every time they went forward, they looked for him.
He was their best player for sure,
and he was giving Udogie problems. But I guess what I'd probably put that down to maybe Udogie, coming back from a long-term injury, and he's our first game in a while, and he's that was later in the game. Maybe I'll put it down to that probably.
Yeah, but I have no hard feelings towards Johnson. I think Alex, the first fan who came up, he said he's like the Welsh Lucas Moura. If you look at it stats-wise in the league, Lucas Moura, I looked at it. He has 15 assists for Spurs in the league. Johnson last season alone has had 10. Definitely different because they're playing in different systems, but
totally different players.
Different players. Johnson's younger, still has a lot to prove, and same with Solanke. I mean, I think it's just a question of being able to adapt. I hope it is because if not, then we'll see. But a major disappointment today was also that we couldn't. When we lost the ball, we had big problems in retaining possession. We know how much Ange likes to press hard after we lose possession to gain it back. Something was wrong with that today, I think, and that definitely needs to be looked at. And even though he mentioned that the front three was the main cause for disappointment today, I think the things we do after we lose possession are also matters that need to be looked at. Disappointed with the draw, but something else I want to say is that I was one of the few, not only just Spurs fans, but football fans in general, that was. I wasn't underestimating Leicester. I watched a bit of Leicester last season in the Championship, and of course, they're meant to be a weaker side because they came from the second tier. But they've got a pretty good squad, I think. Like, just look at their defense. They've got this guy Christensen, Justin. Both of them were pretty decent today. Vestergaard was I don't know. I was pretty disappointed with the ref because at times I thought Vestergaard was wrestling with our players. the Belgian guy, I forgot his name. He's also pretty good. And the keeper, Faz. They're all decent players, and we all know Ndidi, our boy Winks. Winks was pretty decent for them as well. I don't know why he do that for Spurs. But yeah, it's not a really bad squad. And Vardy, he's 37, and the last thing I expected was for him to score today. But what happened, and we need to move on now. And
written in the stars.
There's definitely a lot. If you look at that team, there's definitely a lot of Premier League experience in there.
Sure.
There's a lot of players, very used to playing at this level. So you're probably right. Maybe I said we'd win the game 4-1 before, so maybe I did underestimate what they could give. But I would also make the argument that if we took our chances, we probably would have won the game 4-1. But anyway, Vasily, really appreciate your time.
Vasily,
thanks for calling in. Please do call again during the season. Looking forward to speaking to you. And we'll see you soon. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Another great call. A lot of great callers today. And another great call, I'm sure, is coming up because we have the Jory call. Let's get Jory on. Jory, how many glasses of wine have you had tonight after that performance?
None. But plenty
zero.
Of these. Plenty of
There you go. Yeah, that's what Spurs does to you. They said you had a full head of hair before you started supporting Spurs.
Yeah, well, that's true as well. So, and look at Ben and
exactly.
Looks like you're fighting a losing battle as well, Sim.
Yeah, it's happening. It happens to the best of us,
Oh, wow.
I think.
Yeah.
In terms of your concerns before the season, Jory, what did you think of? Did today's performance alleviate any concerns or not? I mean, obviously not. We drew with Leicester, but what did you make of it?
Well, I sent you that super chat. I finally found something to praise him, or I heard your discussion afterwards. I thought there was some tweak done to our defensive structure, or basically to our resistance to the quick transitions, and I thought it worked really well in the first half, or the first half of the first half at least. And basically, I mean, I need to watch it back again, but as far as I could see, it was the forward players pressing really hard when we lost the ball, and also the Udoki dropping a little bit, and Bentancur also being a little bit lower than we have seen before, kind of anticipating it. And it basically came down to we managed to slow the transition down enough so that we were back to put out the fires, and that worked really well, I thought, And in terms of Bentancur, I thought he had a really good game, and I think in the whole debate about the six and all of that, when Bentancur is on form, he's a better six than we ever can go out and buy, So in that's maybe positive, is that, if you think that's the solution, which I don't think the solution is to get that Rodri type player in there. And I said it on your last show, Sim, that I don't even think Rodri would fix the problem, to be honest. I think it's structural, but I saw what I thought were tactical formation tweaks. Maybe it was the players, it's difficult to know, but I felt it was consistent enough that I felt it must be tactical, because we warded off 3 or 4 potential counter attacks, So so I was happy with seeing that, but then, of course, like the first mistake that I noticed today was not starting Kulusevski, like you guys already touched on. For me, that's a really poor reflection on Ants. I'm starting to put Ants in a level of naivety that we shouldn't really have at our club, because not only has Kulusevski had the best preseason, he is one of very few warrior type mentality players that we have. He is one of very few dog fighting players that we have, and we have a lot of kids who tiptoe around with the ball and do it really nicely, as we see, with no end result. And when the fight really gets gritty, they completely collapsed, and that's kind of what we saw today, you know. And so I think for me, like, each time I get a little bit more hope for Ernst. He does something very silly in my view, and like, for me, it's just he's not taking anything in. You know, he's not taking the set piece issue in. He's not taking the defensive structure. Okay, maybe now he did. You know, that's what I was happy to kind of think that maybe he's actually tweaking that back line there, or the high line, the sitting midfielder and all of that. But he's also not taking in just the Premier League. You know, the Premier League is not like any other league. You know, and all of that talk about winning, you know, in his second season, like just coming out at the start of the season saying something like that. That's really, really naive to say that. You're asking for trouble. You know, you're setting the whole Spurs community up to be the absolute laughing stocks of the football world. You know, and you know, we talk about Ernst needs time, and I'm fine with giving him time. But if you talk like that, you are burning the candle at both ends. You know, you are not giving yourself any time at all. You know, so it's not helping. And to be honest, if I was a player and listening to some of those comments, I would be disappointed, to be honest. You know, because you know, he kind of sounds like he's protecting his players, but really always he's putting it on the players. He never wants to talk about any kind of tactical or structural or managerial angle on our losses, you know. And we keep going away from these first halves or second halves where we say we should have scored 4, we should have scored 5, and we don't. We score 1 or we score none. And that's a structural issue. That's a systematic issue, and that can only be on the manager, you know. And you know, sure, it's young players; they need their time to kind of, you know, find their feet and all of that. But if that's also the case, then you really, really have to rely on the players that you have, who are seasoned, who are weathered, and who can stand the grit, like Kulusevski. Like, for me, that was an absolute misplay, terrible misplay from his part. And you know, I'm really
in terms of Kulusevski, Jory, if you know, in pre-season he's now, or we're now saying he's not a right winger anymore, so we don't want to be playing him on the wing. So where should he have started today? I mean, I agree with you. I think Decky should have started, but in your opinion, should he have started on the right again, or you know, should he have taken Maddison's spot? Well, where do you think he should have started?
For me, it should be Maddison, but I will give Maddison was really good going forward today. But Maddison is you're always taking a hit off the ball with Maddison defensively and so on. And that was one of the things that collapsed. Like Sarr got more and more confused and was more and more out of position, and Maddison just stopped working off the ball. He just completely, as you know, kind of threw his hands up and really didn't put a shift in. He did at the start of the game, and even though he's not the greatest defender, he was still. And it was enough to kind of slow everything down so we could get our pieces in place. But yeah, I would have definitely started him instead of Maddison, and like, you know, which is not ideal either, you know. But this is a problem that he's basically also created a little bit, you know. And I'll also refer that over to this whole Son debate. You know, if you have Son in your team, I don't care which manager you are. It's your freaking duty to make sure that he gets in that pocket where he scores, because he's one of the best in Europe at that. So if you're playing some kind of systems that's not working with that, then it's up to you to find a way, because otherwise you're just burning a world-class player for nothing, you know. And Sonny is not, like, I was very disappointed. I was really pissed with Sonny, to be honest, you know, because when I see that bad touch that he had today, I know we're a long way off, you know, and like it's going to be a struggle with Sonny for quite some time, probably. And you know, but really, in general, Sonny, and we've talked about it many times, Sonny needs to get the ball just over the midline and basically storm into that corner of the outside the box or inside the box and shoot from there before the defense is settled in. You know, that's also another thing. Like you're being completely naive. The odds of a Premier League low block are hopeless. They're not even good for City or Liverpool. You know, the lowest of the low block in the Premier League is a different animal than whatever you're facing in any other league. You know, so if you decide to play in a way where the low block is the only obvious answer to us, then you're basically playing against the odds, you know. And I feel like he's playing against the odds defensively and offensively. I would, though, you know, say once again, I felt he was tweaking the midfield today in terms of the defensive structure, and it helped a lot. It was completely different to see at the start of the game, you know, because they did have chance to break on us, and in other games that turned into goals often, but it didn't. It was snuffed out right away, which was something delightful to see, you know. So yeah.
What did you make of Solanke today?
Yeah, I actually thought his positioning was amazing, and his movement is really good. And he's a much better footballer than Richarlison, and I'm sure he's gonna score. I'm not worried about Solanke. I'm worried about the rest of the front line, because the way we play, everybody in that front line should be scoring, and even the midfielders as well, you know. And they're not doing it. For me, it's I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's something in their coaching that completely robs them of their instinctual reactions to when they get into these chances. Like we remember when Kulusevski was playing under Conte and so on. He's not one to lay it off when he has a good shot. You know, he was always going for the shot, and so I just in general, I just don't think quality forwards are gonna keep tiptoeing the ball like we're doing. You know, the whole horseshoe dynamic came into play again. I think there's something they must be maybe it's like just get it to Solanke or whatever. You know, they're looking for an answer that's not there, you know, and that's making them waste good chances, I think, you know. And I think you know, and also I would just say, like, you know, if you're serious, you know, I'm sorry, like Ryan Mason and just in general the coaching staff, you know, could we maybe, you know, put something on them and maybe look at upgrading them as well? You know, is it all the players? Is it all just the mentality of the players or whatever? I don't believe that. I think we've got a really good squad. I think we have a project for sure. I don't think we're anywhere close to challenging anything really this season. But the overall quality of our players, and especially our defensive players, is really good, you know, and I couldn't complain about it. So I have to put it on the managers and the coaches to not be able to make it work, you know. So
I partly agree with that, to be honest, Jory, and it's something that I'm obviously a big fan of Ange, and I'm loving the some of the football we played today was beautiful, but there are definitely some structural issues which if he doesn't sort out, then it was only going to end one way, and it's not going to be with him being successful. So he needs to definitely sort out a lot of these structural issues. But I'm sure he can, and I'm sure he's thought about it. But look, Jory, we do have other callers waiting in the back end, and we are running out of time. So I appreciate you calling in as always, mate.
No problem.
Enjoy the rest of your beer.
Great graphics tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Big up, Barnaby.
Cheers, Jory. See you. Speak soon.
I hope you enjoy the throughout the season. And go on.
No, I was just going to say, I'll just leave it with you and for Brian Daigle as well. What do you guys think? It's stubborn adherence to system and tactics, or do you think we're in a place where he actually doesn't have the answers? I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, to be honest. So I'm not going to take part in that discussion, but I'm going to leave it. I want to hear Brian's take on it as well. So
I'm sure we'll ask Brian when he comes on. Enjoy your nightcap, Jory.
Cheers, Jory.
We'll see you soon. Bye. See you soon, Jory. Always good to hear from the Joracle. But now time for the main event. Who else? Well, let's bring on Brian Daigle in the building. Brian.
Good evening, chap.
Lovely to see you, mate. Appreciate you calling in as always. Always appreciate you giving up your time. Do you have an answer for the question Jory just posed to you?
Well, first of all, Tim, I think what's got to happen now is in future, any games away at Leicester, you, me and Grandpa have to go to them because they've been non-existent since the Bergwijn game. You've been there. We've lost 4-1 and now this one. Listen, do you know what the biggest issue I think for me today? Our midfield just didn't look right. I don't think Sava looks like he's on form or with it, and I think that the trio just didn't blend well. Maddison had his best game in a long time. It's what you want to see, but we were just so open again, and that midfield was just getting exposed. For me, that was the big issue. And with Jory saying about tactics, or he doesn't have the answers, I think it's got to be tactics. I think Ange does have the answers. I still back Ange. I still want Ange in the job. We cannot keep going through. I've said it time and time again. When we just keep sacking these managers and then bringing new ones in just to repeat the same process over and over again. But he's got to take some responsibility and think, you know what? There are some times where I just need to drop or do something just to weather the storm and then revert back to the offensive football he wants to play, because we're getting exposed quite easily in that second half, weren't we?
Yeah, do you think, because I think we thought Bentancur played well and we thought Maddison played well like you did, so do you think, is Sava kind of not technical enough for this at the moment? I mean, we do value, I think, his legs and his ability to get up and down the pitch, but I saw... I think it was Windy from the Extra Inch said on a tweet, he said that it's a bit of a problem having two players in Sava and Johnson who both kind of run in straight lines playing so close to one another. And I wonder if we need someone a bit more technical in there now.
It's not a bad point, by the way. I mean, you look at it last season when we had Bissouma, Bissouma, Sava, Maddison after the 2-2 draw to Brentford. That midfield everyone complemented each other, didn't they? They just, for like 9 games, they were like unbreakable, untouchable. And it just thinks maybe it could have been the pre-season and them all coming back at different stages. They didn't have enough time to train with each other. But we do need some technical. Before I even ask you, because I've got the train home and everything, has there been any update on Bentancur since because I've not heard anything?
Ange said that he's up and he's communicating. So from that point of view, he's fine. But obviously, it's a head injury, and he'll leave the rest of the medical team to see any other lasting ramifications. But he seems to be okay, which is really positive.
Yeah, it didn't look. I mean, I didn't even see the actual challenge itself. I was just. But then when they didn't replay it, I was like, oh, this could be bad. So just to see him up and being conscious when they're taking him on the stretcher was. But what about Porro as well? And what is it with Porro and not being substituted the second that man is limping badly?
When did it happen before? Did it happen? I can't remember.
Having a Crystal Palace at home, last season where he was limping really badly. We kept him on for a while. And there's one more game that happened as well. We had Spence there. I know the ball went out a couple of opportunities where it could. Maybe it wasn't that bad, and they're trying to hope he'd run it off. But any news on Porro?
Nothing at the moment.
I think for me that was disappointing, because I'm sure Pedro thinks that he's being, showing the crowd or the fans or whatever his bravery, but actually there was about a 2 or 3 minute, 4 minute period, which is so important there, where we're basically down to 10 men, and sometimes I think that's where. Do you remember the Brentford first game of last season? He took Romero off straight away when he had a head injury.
Yeah.
I think he needed to do the same there. Just tell Porro to shut up and get off the pitch, and it didn't happen, which was a bit of a shame. But hopefully his ankle's not too bad.
I hope so. I mean, it was a wonderful header. That header was lovely, and I think that's what we needed from Richie in the 90th minute, wasn't it? More of a glancing header compared to that bullet header. But talking about the forwards, I don't know what people have been saying about Solanke in his performance. I was actually really impressed with him. I really enjoyed. Well, don't get me wrong, he created a couple of chances, the header. But what I saw from him off the ball, the pressing, and his movement, always when we were advancing and you looked at Solanke, he was always pointing where he wants the ball and making the runs. So that's something positive to take from him. Yes, he should have finished either the header or the shot in the second half.
Yeah.
But for his first game, obviously you want him to set the ground running. But I was actually impressed with what he was doing off the ball more than he was doing on it.
Yeah, I think most people agree with you, Brian, to be honest. Most people have kind of said exactly what you've just said, and it'll come. If he keeps making those great runs, it'll definitely come.
Yeah, and I go on, Simeon, you're about to say something, bro.
Now, just saying for you, Brian, in terms of the overall picture of today, do you chalk it down to just an unlucky game where, we should have been 3-4-0 up and we didn't take our chances? Or is there something more to be concerned about after today?
I think it's both. You've got to look at it. Yes, it's only the first game of the season. This was away to Leicester. With no disrespect to Leicester, this was a game where you want to take 3 points. We should have taken 3 points. We've seen it with people that if you make mistakes, look at the Newcastle-Southampton game. They made that mistake, the goalkeeper. You make a mistake, you get punished in this league. We created so many chances and so many times as well where we took one extra touch or had to make that extra pass. We've got to stop doing that. We have to stop doing that and be more ruthless, because we got caught out. Leicester were piling on the pressure, hardly bothered us at all in the first half, and then out of nowhere. And to tell you the truth, before that Benton-Claw collision, they were right on top of us.
Yeah, they were.
They were right on top of us, and who knows what would have happened if that hadn't happened. But yeah, we've got to be more ruthless, because you cannot keep doing this and creating all these chances and not taking them, because you will get punished. It should have been 3 points, should have been an easy 3 points, but we limp away with a 1.
I'm hopeful, Brian, that even though I kind of feel strongly that this was almost like the worst time to play Leicester, because it's like a night game, their return to the Premier League, fans really up for it, etc. I'm kind of hopeful that maybe Saturday at 3 o'clock might be the best time to play Everton, when they've just got absolutely pumped by Brighton, a team who play a kind of similar way to us, and hopefully they won't be as impressive at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as they were last year, actually, where they actually bizarrely under Sean Dyche played a kind of proactive game of football against us, whereas I'm hopeful that maybe we'll catch them at the right time on Saturday.
I will say, I think Bergvall has to start Saturday. I love
Bergvall. I love him.
Kulusevski, listen, I've been critical on Maddison recently, as many people have, but literally I was writing, this is the James Maddison we know and love, just as Leicester scored. So I thought, best not tweet that right now. But when Bergvall came on, and Kulusevski, who Sim and I have gone back and forth with, he looked very sharp again. He looked very, very sharp again. But Bergvall, I don't know if Bergvall's best position is a 10 or an 8. A lot of people tell me that his best position, that Bergvall says himself, is an 8. I'd start him against Everton over Sava in a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat.
In terms of Decky today, were you disappointed that maybe he didn't start, considering how good he was in pre-season?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I generally thought he would stick with Maddison, And the only place I would have wanted Kulusevski to play is if he'd been playing in that central position. So it was going to be a toss-up between them. And like HasSpur said, it was probably one of Maddison's brightest, or it was one of Maddison's brightest games for a long, long time, pre-injury or post-injury, shall I say, since he's come back. And I actually think I've seen a lot of hate for Brennan Johnson. And, you know, I've come on and defended Johnson. So I think he started the first half well.
I agree. First 20 minutes,
you know what,
for sure.
That volley that he had that was saved, and then that volley that went straight across the goal from another Maddison free kick.
Yeah.
He started well. He started well, made a really good defensive tackle. Just typically made a really good defensive tackle, starts running, and then fell over the ball. When it's like, oh, Brennan.
And I think, sorry to interrupt, Brian, but don't you think that's almost like what the Brennan Johnson's haters are looking for? Like something where he slips over or the ball goes off his shin out of play, and then it's like, oh, you're having a bad game. But I actually agree. I think for the first 25, half an hour, I think he played well.
He needs much better output to play for longer or be able to keep that going for longer. I think at the time now as well, this is what, when we look at 2 weeks or under 2 weeks now, in what we need. Obviously, we got the Burnley winger who knows if he comes in straight away. But Brennan Johnson also did very well when he came on as an impact sub. Mm-hmm. When teams were tiring, he can use his pace and exploit it. The last-minute goals he's got. And you know what? He did that when he came on. He created a lot against Crystal Palace, Brighton. Maybe this is what he needs. This is what he needs. I won't write him off as a Spurs player. I still think he's going to have a good season. But I think it's who would we start on the right? Do you start Kulusevski, who I wouldn't, on the right, because where would you two both, if Johnson was rested, who are you playing on the right against Everton?
I guess it has to be Odebear. I mean, I don't know who else.
Well, can I just say, Brian, I really think it depends on who we're playing against, and I've said it numerous times today now. I was really surprised he started with Johnson, to the point where I wonder if Kulusevski had a knock or was ill in the week, because I thought he would start him on the right in the knowledge that he could cut in on his left and get loads of crosses in. And if you think about it, all that first half, we killed them with crosses. We scored the goal from crosses, both of Solanke's chances from crosses. So I was really surprised against a team. Yeah, I was really surprised against a team who I thought would most likely sit deep, that he didn't play Kulusevski. And I agree with you completely that in games where, you know, maybe it's like that and we're playing teams who are going to play 11 behind the ball, you start with Kulusevski whipping in crosses for Solanke, and then when it stretches, if we're ahead, 1 or 2 goals ahead and they have to come at us, you bring Brennan Johnson on and they take advantage round the back. So I agree with you. But against Everton, I think it's most likely that they'll probably sit back and try and hit us on the break, so I'd probably start with Kulusevski.
There you go. I would actually start. I get what you're saying, Barnaby, but Kulusevski with his crossing on the right, it's just not been at it. Doesn't mean to say that he could start Saturday, and it could be. But who knows why wasn't it? Is it true that it was a work visa thing? Yeah, that wasn't done in time or whatever it was. For
Odebear, yeah, couldn't get.
And then you've also got Mikey Moore that could be on the bench. Who knows on Saturday? But let's just hope that with the time that we've got left, we can get some players that can help Ange play the way he wants to play. And I think it goes to show that whether it's that Gomez from Wolves, if it's the guy I love, Morgan Gibbs-White, or we definitely need an energetic midfielder in there, because the midfield is just too easy to dissect right now.
Brian, I worried for a minute there that you were talking about the time we have left in our lives.
Oh, mate, that's when I start talking about winning a trophy. That's when you start talking about that. But the window, I think it just goes to show that a midfielder is most certainly needed.
Yeah. Top man, Brian.
Brian, always great to hear your opinions.
Always a pleasure, boys.
Go check out Tottenham Hotspur if you want to see more Brian Daigle, as you all know.
Brian.
Keep going.
You certainly will. Brian. Speak to you later. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think he is the last caller of the day. Yeah, he's the last caller of the day. So, wow, that was a really great fan show. So many great calls, so many new callers as well. Yeah. So fantastic to get all your opinions. Unfortunately, it wasn't the start of the season we all wanted, but it's a long season ahead, a lot of drama. a lot of games to come, European football to come as well. So it's good to get the season underway, even though it wasn't the start of the season we wanted. Look, Barnaby, thank you for joining me for today for all the action.
As ever, and I'll be back on Saturday for the Everton game.
Yeah, he'll be back on Watch Along. If you do want to see more of Barnaby Slater, go check out his YouTube channel, Barnaby Slater at the Spurred On Podcast. It's actually pinned to the chat at the moment, so go over and give him a subscribe. And if you want to see more of Barnaby Slater, you want to plug in?
Yeah, no, it's just at Barnaby Slater _ on YouTube, daily Spurs and transfer videos at the moment. Come on over.
All right. Well, that is all for today's viewing. Thank you, everyone who came and interacted with the stream and called in, and anyone who commented, left super chats. It's a long season. Don't get too downhearted. We've got another game coming up soon. We'll be back tomorrow with Ben in the studio, who you might have seen on screen today anyway, but you'll be seeing him on screen tomorrow with all the post-match stuff. So tune in for that. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.